Well, this is a CMIS-178. Not a lot of students in here, only 4. So we're doing this for a few people, but that's pretty cool too. Means a little more hands-on, kind of like one-on-one teaching. It's kind of like the same thing as 177, where of course, the only thing that's really different is we're on Thursdays and not on Tuesdays. Still from 12:20. Well, I don't know why it says 12:20. Officially 12:30 until 3 o'clock, but if you come in at 12:20, that's okay as well. We're here. We end 5/14/26, which is just a few months from now. Not that long. So I do have my email here if you need to contact me. Phone number. That's actually a Google phone number, so I should still receive it, but any kind of messages would be great. This course description, it introduces 3D fundamentals of creating and animating 3D models in Maya primarily, but also using a little bit of Blender and focusing on animation. So that's kind of like the key difference from 177 to 178. Still focusing on the game development pipeline here, and still trying to create animation more towards game engines and like Unity or Unreal Engine. I am not a good character artist or a character animator, but I do have some experience with that. And we will try to do a little bit of character animation near the end of the course, do some rigging, play around with that. There's also an assignment for that. When I was at the University of Baltimore, I actually had to kind of create my own little game, and I had to kind of create my own character from scratch, animate it, and that was not really fun. But I was able to do it, and also from a team I was working on there, I was pretty much the only 3D modeler there and had to pretty much design the whole levels for all character that was running around, and I was not happy with it. I wish I can go back and redo it, but now that I know a little bit more now, I think it should be pretty good to teach you all that, and hopefully you can kind of avoid some mistakes I avoided. The same thing about FCC's commitment to equity, be kind to everyone, all that kind of stuff. If you have any kind of issues or anything you need to be brought up that you need to be excused for a certain class for a certain time, just let me know, and I will work with you. No textbooks, of course, which is great. Other learning materials, none, but you can use YouTube and all that. Other required equipment, nothing except for if you do want to use your own laptops or own kind of computers, you can bring those in if you want to and use those. Just don't play League of Legends on it while we're in class. So just a heads up. Software, Maya 2026. I had to download it myself on this computer for some reason, but I felt like I saw it last Tuesday, but I don't know. Also Blender 4.5, 5.0, which Matt did say he was going to install for next class. Also PureRef, which is great to have, which is the references you can have on top of your programs. Unreal Engine 5.0, or at least the latest version. Any other kind of game engines you want to try to test your animated props or models into it. Also Substance Painter, Marmoset Toolbag, or I think XNormal is also free. I have not really used that, but some people use it. You should be able to use Substance Painter with your students' accounts on the campus PC. So whenever anyone tries to use a .edu account on their own personal devices, it's hit or miss sometimes. Some people have success, some people, there's issues. That's just, at least we have the opportunity to have free stuff, so that's good. And of course, if you want to try to find other means to use it, wink wink, I won't tell you to not do it, but also be careful out there on sailing the high seas. Simple Bake is also a Blender add-on that you can bake stuff, and that costs $20. Hey, Nicholas, how's it going? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Photoshop, GIMP. I think there's also, I know something released for free last year, Affinity, I believe. So you could also potentially use Affinity. I have not really used it before, but that is free apparently. So definitely check it out. It used to be one single payment, and now it's free. So there's probably ads or other things for it. So you could also use that probably for photo editing or any kind of texture paintings, things like that. How to find resources. You continue to go to FCC Bookstore. There is an online bookstore. If you click on it, it'll take you there. Online, navigate, Blackboard, all the stuff you've probably heard 1,000 times, but that's what's happening. If you have any kind of disabilities or need accommodations, do let me know as soon as possible, or rather than later, and we will be sure to accommodate you and help you out with that. Core learning outcomes for this course. Discuss the role and impact of 3D technologies, compare and evaluate 3D modeling tools, apply modeling techniques in designing 3D models via 3D modeling tools, develop computer-generated interactive 3D models, and prepare 3D models for 3D game engines. But for here, this is mainly focused on the animation side. First couple weeks it'll probably be very basic because you still need to get used to Maya interface and how it works. So that's pretty much it. Additional course outcome or info, Gen Ed Type 1, none. You need to go through that. For the what's being graded, 5 quizzes, 4 assignments, and a final project. So your 5 quizzes are worth 25% or 25 points, which I use points. Everyone starts at 0 and just kind of keeps growing up until then. After you submit something, I'll grade it, and you'll see the points keep on going up. 4 assignments here. We have 5 quizzes. The quizzes should be a bit easy, or it's not like the 177 course where you have to look at any kind of models and try to find a problem with it. It's just simple 5 question quizzes and 5 multiple choice questions, and then you can answer that. There's only 3 attempts for it though, so you'll find out more when we go over the quiz later. 4 assignments, final project, yep. So participation policy, it's good to participate in the discussion boards. Usually after every assignment that's done or you've submitted, I have a post-mortem discussion board where you go and upload your, for this one, at least a Playblast video, which is basically just like the basic animation video of what you've done, and to show everyone what you've done. That's where you go and ask, okay, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What do I like? And just kind of respond to other students. So that's the basic participation policy expectation, as well as there's an introduction discussion board available. Most of those discussion boards and little bits and pieces are like 1 point extra. So think of them as almost like extra credit in a way, but really they do add up a lot. So they could almost mean from a passing or a failing grade if you want to look at that. Students who wish to use a cell phone for any purpose, including texting or web browsing, you should leave the classroom first. So if there's any kind of important calls or messages you're expecting and you get that, silence your phone, have it on vibrate, and just excuse yourself. Same thing if you have to go to the bathroom. You don't need to raise your hand and say, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Just go and excuse yourself. But we will have a 10-minute break around 1:20, 1:30ish. So I do have like an official break time. You can listen to music if you want to, but that's like during lab time and not the official lecture time, because then you can't hear me, or maybe you need sensory music or sensory audio. If so, just let me know ahead of time. Yep, college-wide expectations are here. If you need to figure out what's going on with your grades, just let me know. Send me an email or talk to me, and we'll try to figure it out. So contacting me, just be sure to message me through the college email, the sfurr@frederick.edu, and just let me know if there's any kind of issues or anything like that. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If there's something that's a massive question or something that might require a little bit more time, I'll just say, hey, let me get back to you with that, and I'll try to figure it out. So usually I'm pretty good at that. Final grades, we'll be sure to have the final grades. So important information here. So if you're thinking of withdrawing a class, you decide that after the first day today that this really is not for you, that you really don't want to do this, that's okay. That's not going to hurt me. But if you do, the last day for 100% refund would be September 15th. That is Sunday. That is kind of odd for it to be on a Sunday, but well, September, not February. Oh, great. Yeah. So that was not accurate for the other course. Okay, so that was for last year then. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. But okay, so anyway, but usually that's like probably the 16th, I'm guessing. And then of course the last day for 50% refund. I'll have to update those as well. But essentially, if you figure out that this is not for you, let me, do it rather than later, and do it now rather than later, because it could affect your overall transcript. How to submit a complaint. So if you have any kind of issues here, just either let me know first. If we can't resolve it, we can go to the dean, and he's a pretty nice guy, and he can kind of figure things out. And if he doesn't know what to do, then we'll continue to elevate it. So we have the classwork hours roughly, about how long you need. This should not scare anyone, but this is different for everyone. Some people can excel at this and they only need to spend 1 hour. I don't recommend that, but some people might have to spend even more than 12 hours as the estimate per week for it. So everyone's on a different journey. Everyone's going to be learning a little bit differently than everyone else. So don't try to feel like you see someone else's work and you think they're better than me. I can't ever get to that level. Or even if you go to ArtStation or look at animation that people have been doing years and years and years of work, don't ever think that, hey, I'm never going to get to that level. Just keep encouraging yourself and just keep working towards it. Everyone had to start somewhere, and for many of you, this is your start. So we have our syllabus here, which I do have on the Blackboard website here. So just in case you need to look at that easily, instead of opening up the syllabus, you should be able to check that out. But yeah, today, orientation, we do have that video to play again, which I know we've probably all seen a lot of times, but that's we have to play it. But today, just kind of going over orientation, syllabus, and some of the basic animation principles, as well as Maya overview, timeline, graph editor, also assignment 1 and quiz 1. And you can check that out. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah, I don't know why that was not updated or overlooked. Last day for 100% refund, which is the 12th. So I guess that's today. That's if this is not for you, hopefully by the end of the day, you should figure that out and get to with your instructor or someone else that you need to let know that you don't want to play it or continue on with this course, or the 18th for at least 50% off. Or like a 50% refund for it. And then April 15th for the last day to withdraw or audit the course. So yeah, let's play the video, and we'll be sure to go through this again. I know we've all seen this hundreds of times, but 101 is pretty good.
We want everyone to be safe at Frederick Community College. While the campus has an active public safety staff, crisis management team, programs to mitigate emergencies, and video monitoring, emergencies may still occur. Remember, if you see or hear something, say something to any FCC employee. Emergency response guides and floor maps are available in each classroom and office suite. The college has fire extinguishers strategically placed around the main campus and at the Monroe Center. If there's a fire, hazardous material incident, or bomb threat, you may need to evacuate. Before an emergency occurs, know where the room and building exits are and where to evacuate. You can review the emergency floor maps to identify your route to an evacuation area. Follow the safest and quickest path out of the building. If you are an individual with a disability and need help during an evacuation, respond to an area of rescue assistance inside the stairwell. Here, trained staff and emergency responders can assist you. A number of college employees are trained as floor or building coordinators. If a fire alarm or other evacuation alert sounds, these employees may wear safety vests and help guide the evacuation. If you see someone who needs medical help, call 911 and the College Public Safety Office at 301-846-2453. Be sure the scene is safe before you approach an injured person and remain with them until help arrives. AEDs or automatic external defibrillators are available and centrally located around the campus and the Monroe Center. During severe weather or tornado warning, you may need to locate the severe weather shelter areas in your building. Each building has a designated severe weather shelter area in hallways or interior rooms without exterior windows. Bathrooms are also a safe space. Move to these areas and protect yourself. Remain sheltered in these areas until you receive the all clear message. A shelter in place may also be necessary if a hazardous situation occurs outdoors, and remaining indoors is your best option. If possible, close the exterior windows during these types of events. The college will go on lockdown if a person with a weapon is on or near the college property. It's important that you remain calm and follow the ADD acronym, Avoid, Deny, Defend. This is also referred to as Run, Hide, Fight. To avoid this situation, have an exit plan, move quickly away from the threat, run, or go to the nearest room where you can lock the doors, hide. Many classrooms have an interior push-button lock to secure the door. Now's a good time to check your classroom and office suite doors and understand how they work. Not all doors are the same. Deny the threat by barricading the door with heavy objects, such as desks, chairs, or tables. You may have to improvise using belts or cables to prevent the door from opening. Turn off all lights and silence your phones. Move away from the doors and windows and remain quiet. If you're outdoors or in a parking lot when the lockdown occurs, flee the college immediately if it's safe to do so. If you have an opportunity to escape, safely do so. Otherwise, wait for further information from the FCC Alert, our public address system, public safety staff, or a uniformed police officer. If the police do respond, follow their directions. If you cannot avoid or deny the threat, be prepared to defend yourself and others. Do whatever it takes to survive. After this video, we recommend you program the number to Public Safety Office into your cell phone. That number is 301-846-2453. Staying safe will be much easier when you sign up for FCC Alert. You'll receive text messages, phone calls, or emails regarding an emergency or during a crisis. Activate your FCC Alert account today by going online to www.frederick.edu/FCC Alert. If you have any questions or concerns about your safety, stop by the Public Safety Office near the Cougar Grill in the Student Center or at the Public Safety Desk at the Monroe Center. Public safety staff are also available at any time to escort students and employees to their vehicles. Your safety is our priority. Thank you for working with us to help keep FCC safe. Remember, if you see or hear something, say something.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sure you've all seen it a lot of times, and you'll probably see it some more later on, but it's good to have it. So yeah, let's open up Maya now, because like I was saying before, early on, apparently Maya was not installed on the computer. It's installed on your computers apparently, but not on mine. So that's something we'll have. I was trying to get with the IT guy, Matthew, here. For now, let's, when you open up Maya, Maya 2026, hopefully you do have an account with Adobe, or not Adobe, Autodesk. And you should be able to access Maya and also their other accounts or other softwares that you want to check out. So maybe you want to do CAD or something like that, that's available as well. They even have a sculpting program called Mudbox, but I would not recommend you using that. I'd probably recommend you trying out Blender as opposed to Mudbox here. But they also have 3ds Max, which is also pretty good for modeling. That was one of the first programs I used as well. But also Maya is pretty much like the industry standard, and also Blender, I would think, is about there as well, at the same level, if not about a little below. There's some things about Blender I like better than Maya, and some things about Maya I like better than Blender. And you'll probably explore that as soon as you, well, as you continue to work with Maya. So we'll just kind of continue open and do like an introductory going through all this. So welcome to Maya. Let's just say I'm a new user. You can do like an interactive tutorial if you want to, but we can just dive on in. I'll go and click New and open up my scene. Right now it does, I mean, it looks very different if you're used to something like Blender. This might feel a little more grounded in like a actual computer software as opposed to Blender, because you do see a lot more windows and a lot more tabs, but it can be very overcomplicated quickly if you feel like it. As of right now, if you want to kind of, well, if you look around here in the main viewport, this is your 3D viewport that you can use to see your 3D models. If you hold down Alt and left click to drag around, you will be able to drag in orbit around your model or selection. You can do Alt middle mouse to drag, and you'll pan around the screen or around whatever you are working on. You can also go up here to the top right, and you'll see you can left click and drag and move around this cube here, and it will show you which direction you're facing, as well as the bottom left here. It will show you X, Y, and Z, which is a little bit different than Blender, because in Blender, X and Y are actually on the ground and Z is up top. So it's a little switched around. That might cause some issues if you go from one program to another, if you try to import some things. So that's something to kind of be aware of. But that can be switched or changed if you wish. Aside from that, if you do want to have a quad view here, you can press space bar, which if you do that, you'll get the traditional like top-down view, front view, and side view. You can also change those settings here, I believe. Panels, I believe it's panels, and you can change it to whichever side you want to. So if you want to have a specific panel here for a camera to view it, you could do that as well. You just press spacebar again with your mouse cursor hovering over any area, and that'll give you a full screen of that perspective. For the time being, we can just stay in the perspective, but as we do like a demonstration of something like a simple animation, then we can certainly change that back to one of those viewports, those orthographic viewports. Aside from that, like I said, we can move around here. That's pretty good. Let's see. Transforming. If you need to zoom in, your scroll wheel, you can go out and in. And yeah, so as we've, hopefully at this point you kind of have some understanding of a little bit about 3D modeling. But if you don't, we can kind of go over briefly. Up here, we'll see that we have our file. We can go and save, which it's always good to save. So we'll save our scene as, probably just change this to something better. Let's go to Documents 178, and I'll just name this to like week 1, enter. And so to add a folder inside of this file saving window, you can just click the folder icon with the create new folder. Now I'll just double click on that to enter into it, and I'll name this as week 1 SFURR, just to be have good naming conventions and to be organized as much as possible early on. It will save you a lot of headache later on. So we can also go up here. We see edit. We have an edit window. We can go edit specific things. We can create NURBS primitives, which acts more like curves, but usually probably go with primitives, polygons, when you start to create items. We have select, we have modifies, and this top bar here, this will change depending on which working menu you're working in, or the workspace you're working in. Right now it's general, but if you go to something like modeling standard, things might change up a bit. If you go to modeling expert, which I don't know why you'd want that, but you could do that. There's also a few other areas here which we can explore later on down the road, like rigging or animation, which could be helpful. But for now, we'll just go back to general. So we also have this information here, modeling. We can click on modeling, we can click on rigging, and this is where we start to see things changing. If you see something bright green that's highlighted, usually that's like a new feature that's inside of this version of Maya. So this one's Maya 2026, so this will be the newest thing here, Bifrost rigging. But if you you can also click here, go to animation, effects, which will probably be doing a lot of the effects here. Then also there's rendering information here, and also you can customize to create your own unique space here. But we'll go back to modeling for the time being until we can play around with all this. So from here, let's actually try to get a cube in. If we go up here to see poly modeling, we can see that we have polygon sphere, polygon cube, we have the cylinders, cones, torus, planes, and a disc. And you can also do a few other options here. This is kind of like the all-in-one tools that you'd probably be using mainly. So this is probably a lot of things you want to be paying attention to. And of course, this shelf is what it's called. You can also change it to something else, and you can add on specific tools that you might use later on. For the time being, if we just left click and click polygon cube, it will create a cube for us. And here we can left click and hold down Alt and left click to orbit around that cube, and middle mouse button plus Alt will be able to drag your viewport around. From here, if we want to actually start to select parts of the model, instead of pressing 1, 2, and 3 like we would in Blender to select things, we can hold down the right mouse button, and we can bring up this pie menu. This pie menu will allow us to be able to select certain parts that we want to do quickly. So like vertex, face, or the edge, or object mode for selecting just objects. So think object mode just like the object mode in Blender. And that's when you can select multiple objects or something specific. So let's say we're going back to vertex. If you hold down the right mouse button and move your mouse over top of vertex, you'll see that everything's changed a little bit, and you can click on these purple vertices here. So that's helpful. You can also do edge. You can click on edges now. And similarly with the Blender, you can hold down Shift to select multiple components or deselect as needed. Right click also, you can do face mode and select like that. So yeah, that's pretty helpful there. So if you want to actually move things around, this is where it gets a little bit different. And in Blender, you might use G to move around, or S to scale, R to rotate. But things are a little bit different here in Maya. So with this, we can actually use W to bring up the moving and translate gizmo here. And this is where we can click on that cube or that part or the axes that we want to move, and it will move along that said axes. And here they do have little flat planes that kind of give you control in just that axis. So for instance here, this is like Z and Y. We can do that, and it'll be constrained to that, and it will not go back and forth in the X axes. So that might be helpful in certain circumstances. You can also press X and hold down on X, and it will snap to the grids. This can pretty much be useful. Well, this can be useful for a lot of different things, and it can also be useful for just selecting particular edges or vertices, and it will snap to that kind of like invisible grid right here. If you can imagine a grid going up and down all around. So that's helpful. You can, of course, also just keep moving things around without snapping. So either way is fine. To rotate, you press E, oddly enough, and that will allow you to rotate the model by left clicking and moving around. You can still can you snap? No, you can't really snap. So you can do that. If you look over here, you'll see in the channel box and information here that your information is actually if you haven't changed the workspace, it's actually displayed over here. And you can use this for animating purposes in the future. And of course, just seeing what's kind of information you can work with here. This will be useful for seeing that, hey, if you want something, translate Y to be right there at 0, but you think it should be there, but it's not literally right there, that's where you probably would want to go here and just start typing in 0 and enter. And that can kind of fix that issue there. So that might be a little bit easier to work with than something like in Blender. You can also delete models by pressing the delete key, not X. So delete, and if you want to quickly add models instead of going up to here, you can hold down Shift and then right click, and that'll bring up the menu here that you can then experiment with. So for instance, let's just say cube, and we have ourselves a cube again. Over here on the left side, we have our outliner, and this is where it's kind of like the hierarchy in Blender. So here we can name our cube to something else. So I just double click on that, and you can just name it to something like a cube test, and that just keeps things organized. Something that's a little bit different here that it might take getting used to. To move things around here, instead of left clicking and just kind of dragging around, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. You might get, highlighting a lot of objects instead of just one single thing and moving around. The middle mouse button, left clicking and dragging it, or not left, the middle mouse button click and holding, that will allow you to kind of move things around, and you can nest things as well. So I could press Control D to duplicate that, and I can press Shift. I can do this, right click, and should be able to Control G. Okay, Control G to group these items. And if I want to take them out, I could just middle mouse button and drag them out. So navigating this, it's easier to just go ahead and try to just middle mouse button click it and drag, as opposed to trying to left click, because then you might highlight multiple items here. So just for the time being, delete that, and I'll delete that. Shift, right click, and just do something like a cube. So let's go back over here to our right side where we have our channel box and layer editor. If we go over here to our other tab, attribute editor, we will start to see a little bit of history here and some information. Right now we have just pcube1, but if we go around here and try to find something like polycube1, we could start to change information here and add subdivision here if we want to. So for instance, I can just move from 1 in the polycube history and polycube1 here. I can also rename this to let's just say test. Now this part has changed. This is just a name that's been changed, but it's still polycube1 originally. But we can still change our subdivision heights, width, and depth from here if we wish to. We can also, of course, do loop cuts like we would in Blender, but it's handled a little bit differently. So let's say we also want to scale this or change the height of it. We could still do that here. That's right, R is to scale. So it's kind of weird. R is to scale instead of S. You could change up some of the shortcut the key commands, but you would have, if you're trying to follow along other tutorials, you might have some issues there. So I'd probably recommend just keeping it as it is and just kind of learning the WER commands. Also, when you go to Unreal Engine, they also use the WER commands. So R is to scale, E is to rotate, and W is to select and kind of like translate it. Q is also the shortcut for select. You should actually be able to hover over items here and actually find the shortcuts over there. So if they have a shortcut already attached to it, you'll see that here. So you'll see rotate tool here. If you want to scale, that says R. If you want to do something like move, W. And for different selection tools, you can click on that as well. And of course, you can change the viewports here as well. So for that, let's go back to here. If we press, let's see, press Shift and right click, that'll bring up your other tools you can kind of work with here. Some of them might be a little more confusing for now, but that's something that you can also look at and take a look at. So from here, if we do something like going to Modeling Toolkit, the tab over here, we can left click on that, and we can also see that this is how we can also interact with our model here. Right now, we're in object selection. If you click on this, this will give you the vertex selection. And likewise, you can click on this to go to edge and face and so on. UV selection. The UV selection will be something a little bit later on when we talk about unwrapping the model for texturing. But you can click on these, and this will give you more information here. So similarly, just like right-clicking and selecting face. Whichever is the easiest way for you, I think just using a mouse, right-clicking, and learning this pie menu might be good. You can, if something has an arrow to it, you can go there and then you can select that, or you can just go back and select faces as needed, or whichever way you want to. So now that we kind of looked over that, we do have some information here. We have camera-based selection. Right now, if we select something like this that's been subdivided, it should select all the way through. If you want to switch that on, I believe now if I select this face, it won't select the back faces. So if you want to work on something that has, you want to select the back faces, or you don't want to select the back faces, that's where you want to make sure that the camera-based selection is on or off. I like to keep it off because it can be helpful, but it's like a two-edged sword. It can be helpful, but it also can be harmful, because you could be thinking that you're selecting just here, you're working on this or doing whatever you need to do. All of a sudden, you see that there's a lot of screwed up topology on the other side. So that's something you want to be aware of. You can, of course, just simply shift left click certain areas, but that's just something to be aware of, that is available. You can turn it on or off. So it can be useful in certain circumstances, and just be aware that it does exist. So I'll just turn it off and just select both sides for now. We do have other tools here that we can work with. We have the combines, so we can combine different objects together to one single object. Separate, smooth, booleans. If we have this object here, go back to object mode. On the keyboard, if we press 2, this will give us our smooth model. So this is kind of like how you would with control 1, 2, and 3 in Blender. And this will kind of give you that subdivided model appearance. But this is not actually subdivided yet. If you press 1, it will show you what the model looks like. If you press 2, this will give you the appearance of it, but still give you that cage that you can still work with. So let's say you want to still select faces here and move it around. You could still do that. If you press 3, that cage will kind of just go down and wrap around that object. It might make it easier. If you notice something around here, let's see. Scale. Or let's just do that other thing. Face. And Control Z. So just as I did Control Z, if you look down here at the bottom right, this will show you that everything's basically a script here. Every command, every action that you work with, it's basically a script that you're working with. So for instance, again, if you want to move this up and Control Z, you'll see undo, move -R, 0, whatever number it is. And you, of course, can go and write in Mel, which is the Maya scripting language, and you can type in specific commands there to help automate your task, which I'm thinking we'll probably play around with later near the end of the semester, like one of the last lab days. I think that'd be kind of fun to play around with, but for the time being, it's available. You could look it up if you want to help you out with certain tasks, but just know that everything here is basically the Mel language. If we go click back 1, well, even this. So let's say 2, you say display smoothness. It shows you the divisions that you have, the points, and then 3. It just shows you that down at the bottom right. So it's just kind of a little bit cool information you can learn as well. Let's say you want to actually use some of the things you've learned before within Blender, like beveling it. So you want to bevel this side. Still Control B. But the cool thing about this is it does show a menu here, and it's a little bit more in-depth information in Blender. In Blender, if you do something like Control B to bevel, you'll have that menu down at the bottom left corner, and that'd be like something you have to left click and open up. If you left click off of that and go somewhere else, it's going to disappear. Likewise, this will disappear if you do that, so you want to be careful. But Control Z to bring that up again, that will help. Here you can kind of play around the fraction, as it's called. If you hold down Control, that will allow it to be a little bit smoother transition here to move down. And of course, you can change the segments here, and that will change the curve of that. And you can, of course, change other information here. Chamfer, if you do chamfer, that will remove that cut there, and it will just give you some edges here. Of course, that will create an n-gon here, and that would be something you'd have to fix. So something like that to fix, probably go with the multi-cut tool up here at the top left, or not top left, up here at the left side of this right section here. And we can kind of move around and fix that n-gon. So left click on the red and left click over here, then press enter. And that will fix that. And press enter. And so we can fix that, but then I see we have another n-gon here that we can, of course, fix. Enter. Click this, make sure it's red, and enter. And of course, using this multi-cut tool, you could create interesting shapes here. If anyone here played with Illustrator, it's kind of like working with the vector in a way. So you could do art or kind of interesting holes or interesting kind of cuts here, but just know that if you do that, you might have some more cleanup to do. So I don't know, maybe you want something like this. This is your beautiful piece of work that you like. Press Q, and you want to delete these faces for whatever reason. That's something that you could, of course, do. If I press delete, that will delete it, and that will give me a hole there. So yeah. So another thing to also know and to learn in Maya, as you've kind of done in Blender as well, is to extrude. So if you know how to use Blender, then Control E extrudes. For here, we will do. You can do Control E, which will give you the poly extrude face, which is good. If you want something very specific, you want to kind of do very precise, you want to work with the numerical values, that's quite fine as well. But if you want to be very fast at something, you have specific things you want to do, you have a deadline you want to do, going to W and your move tool, if you just like left click on the face here, and you go and press shift and hold it down and left click on one of the axes, you can then move that out, and that will extrude for you. So that could save some time. So let's actually create another object here. I'll just move this off to the side, hold down X to snap it to the grid, and then create another object, shift right click cube, and let's scale this up. I'm going to scale it up using the channel box here and going to scale X and make it something like 2, 2, 2. To switch from the X, Y, and Z that I was doing, I was just pressing tab on the keyboard. And now I'm going to move this up. So for instance, let's say that we want to inset a face. Unfortunately, Maya does not have the same kind of inset face, like you press I and you can inset a face like Blender does. That makes it a little bit easier. What you have to do here is actually extrude. So if you go to R to scale, and let's say this is a face that you want to inset, you can hold down Shift while using that face and working with that face, and that kind of extrudes inward. And then from there, if you want to extrude up, you can hold down Shift again, and then you can extrude as well. And of course, from here, if you want to do something like a bevel, you can bevel like that. Edges here. You can double click. If the edges are not broken up and they kind of like wrap around a specific object or model cleanly, you can double click on those edges and it will wrap around. And now I'm just going to press Control B, and I can kind of create that here. So let me select those here, Control B, and that kind of bevels that. And of course, if we want to go back to select this guy again, extrude inward, and maybe you want to extrude again, something like that. That's quite fine as well. And so that's kind of like a few things you can do inside of Maya. Let's also rename this cube 2. So if you want to do something like insert a loop cut, so in Blender that's Control R to bring up the shortcut for loop cuts. For Maya it's a little bit different. So you can go down to Modeling Toolkit and do click on the the multi-cut tool, and you can press Control. Let's see, good. Control, and that will bring up that line that you can kind of see around, wrapping around perfectly quads all around, and that'll bring up the loop cut. If you hold down Shift, that will lock it to certain amounts of increments. As right now, it's just 70 or 80%. It's 10% essentially. If you just right click, or I think it's, middle mouse button click, that'll be right in the middle. So it could be almost like here, and middle mouse button, and that will be in the middle. So if you also just double click on this will bring up the tool settings for that specific tool, which makes it very nice to use. So let's bring this up. It would just bring up a tool settings menu. And here you can actually change, the snap step count. So maybe, for instance, while holding Shift and moving this up and down, maybe you don't want 10% increments. Maybe you want something more like 5% increments. And there you have the 5%. Or maybe you want to even go higher, like 25. And there you go, you have 25 increments in between that. So that's pretty helpful. So let's say you want to get rid of these edges here. It seems like you can just, Shift, left click, double click, and just press delete. And you're done. You don't have anything. But then you start to see that these edges here have they're highlighting something different here. If you go to vertex, you'll see, oh no, you got all these vertices here, even after you delete those. The deleting tool doesn't work like the dissolving tool in Blender. So if you want to delete something or dissolve these edges properly, let's Control Z, actually Control D, or Control Delete. And that will actually delete those edges properly, like you're dissolving edges in Blender. So that should be a little bit helpful. I unfortunately learned that a little bit too late, but that's something that's could be helpful. Control Delete. So let's see here. Yes.
Can we delete only one vertex
At a time?
Yeah. Look like this part. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you delete that,
the line is
still there because it still wants to be connected to something. If you do Control Delete, that will remove it.
Oh.
So the Control Delete is more like a. Actually, you're going to kill it for real. To kind of make sure that you really do want to get rid of it. But then, of course, you're left with a bit of an n-gon here, which you do want to kind of clean up. But maybe you want some, like this. You want to clean this up. You don't want that line there. Maybe you want 2 lines here to clean it up. So I'm just going to Control Delete to delete, and then I'll go for my cutting tool here. Make sure it's red, and go over here. Make sure it's red, and press Enter. And do it again like this, and Enter. And so when I press something like 2 or 3, it will have a little bit of a better, kind of like a better curve than something like this. Now, for instance, if you want to try to say that you want to, this model as it is not actually smooth. It doesn't have the topology there yet. So if you want to save something like this model and actually export it to a game engine, you would need to convert that to that model to a mesh, which I believe it's display, modify. So this is where you'd find, if you click on the model here that you click number 3 on a keyboard, and you want to go to modify, convert a smooth mesh preview to polygons. If you left click on that, you'll start to see that, okay, the topology here is kind of rough looking. And this is, maybe you do want this, but this is the part where you would have to try to manually clean up those edges here. So, for instance, let's edge. You can see it's going to be like a flatter surface here, so you don't need those. Let's control delete those. Okay, so it's getting rid of that. We do need this supporting edge loop here if we want that curve. And control delete. That's okay, even though it's a little bit small. Maybe we can move this down a bit. And, something like this. It's just something that you might have to play around with and try to explore about what's the best way to clean something up like that. If the grid is getting in the way of, of your site or whatever you're trying to work with, you can always click on the grid icon up here, and it will hide that for you. Control delete. So maybe it's something like a dreidel of some sort. But that's cool. But yeah, that's kind of basically roughly a lot of information thrown at you right now. But it is 1:30, so at 1:40 we can kind of continue on again, and I'll do a little bit of basic animation, kind of explain, just something simple like a cube moving, maybe a ball bouncing, something like that. And we'll get back to it in 10 minutes. Pause the video. And we are unpaused. And let's see if I have that up there. I feel like I did. Here we go, course materials. In the course materials on the Blackboard, I do have a couple of helpful documents to look over, including something 12 principles of animation. If you look up 12 principles of animation, you'll see basically what they're talking about. You have squash and stretch, gives objects a feeling of weight and flexibility. Anticipation, prepares the audience for a major action. This is mainly towards actual character animation or traditional 2D animation, but this can also still be applied in 3D animation as well. Staging presents an idea clearly so it's unmistakably understood by the audience. Straight ahead action and pose to pose. Follow through, slow in and slow out. Sometimes that might be like ease in, ease out for 3D. Arcs, so that's like the bouncing of a ball, you figure out the arcs of that. Secondary action, maybe swaying arms, or something like a jelly slime cube thing jumping down around. It's a little bit of a jiggle or wiggle, so that could be something like that. Timing, exaggeration. So a lot of times for more stylized, you might see things stretched or moved. Even if you're doing something like pixel art or something like that, you might see that a sword, if it's swinging, then you might see like the whole blade and one frame just all white. Just shows that there's actually movement or something like that. So a little bit of exaggeration. Solid drawing and appeal. So those are some of these 12 principles of animations. I do have it for Maya. I do have that. Oh, that's open. But this does show, kind of gives examples about how to use that here in Maya and in different parts of that. So you might want to take a look at that as well. But for here, let's kind of show how to do a few more things, and then we'll do like a simple animation. Let's, of course, save. And I'll just move this out of the way. Actually, let's just group these two together, Control G, and name it, 1. And I'll just right click and I think I can show all. I'm going to hide them by pressing Control H to hide. So from here, let's say we want to make I don't know, something interesting. Let's go with the flat plane. We don't need all of those subdivisions. So I'm going up here to plane and trying to find where that information is. Usually here, yep, polyplane 1. And I'm just going to remove all those back to 1. So just so we have like a flat surface or a floor to work with. Floor. I'll just name that there. And I'll move this up a little bit so it shows or it hides the grid there. And so from here, let's add ourselves a cube. It's quite fine. I can move it up a bit. And now that I moved it up, I'm going to do something called delete type by history. If I'm on the attribute editor tab here and I click on delete type by history, we have a few things cleaned up and moved out of the information here, which is very important. And freeze transformation types. So now everything's going to be transformed from this section here. And we can also center pivot. So if we have this selected, it will be the pivot point will be there. If we ever want to change a pivot point to something else, so maybe like a door or hinge, maybe this is like a door that you want to swing around here. Let's see. Oh, right. Yeah, so you want to swing that around there instead of in the center. You can click on edge mode or select that vertex that you have and then go and click on center pivot. And now when you go to object mode, it will be there and you can just swing that around as needed. But for, let's see, for animating things, you can press S on the keyboard for inserting a keyframe. So if you have something selected, we can press S on a keyboard and that will create a keyframe. You'll see right here that we have a red line which indicates that there is a keyframe in that place. If we go up here to our channel box layer editor, we'll see that everything's all red now. If I Control Z to undo the keyframe, press S again, we will see that this is all red. So if I move up in the timeline here to frame 60, and let's just say I want to move this in the X direction, let's translate that to a +5, then press S again on a keyboard, press that and press S, and now if I go back, this will be moving forward. And of course it's, right now it's 120 frames. Let's move this up. It's 200 frames altogether. It's 24 frames per second. So it's going to be pretty quick. We could, go down to something like really slow, like 10 frames per second. Maybe make it down to 10, 20, 30, 30 frames. So it's going to be really fast. The higher the frame count, the more you have, of course. Let's go 30 frames per second and go to something like 60. So we still have that. Let's also move this guy down. We can also play around with the keyframes. We can change it down, cut, copy, and paste. So maybe you want something at another place that would work or should work. In theory. Maybe I have to upgrade this, 90. Okay, see, it's up there. So we could, okay, see, it didn't move. 0, S. Yeah, sometimes that works as intended, sometimes it doesn't. But when you change the frames per second, sometimes everything changes. So it's a good idea to not do that all the time. So it's good to have like a uniform idea of what your frame is going to be. So maybe something like if something's going to be 30 frames per second, it's going to be 60 frames. Let's do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So like 150. That's about 5 seconds. And let's go down to the bottom here, or let's go halfway through. 150, so maybe like 75 roughly. Press S on the keyboard, and this will shoot out like that. If we want to make it go back down to where we were before, let's say 0, press S. And so that kind of go back and forth, a little bit of a loop. We can do something different like auto keyframing toggle. So every time you move something throughout the timeline, it will be keyframed. So let's say here we want something in 28. We actually want this to go up. And now, when you play it, you'll see that, okay, it's going all around. It's kind of going crazy. Maybe we should change the frames to something a little more drastic. Let's say 60 frames. A little bit smoother animation. And let's go 600. So we see that. So that's like a very basic of animation. So you press S to actually set a keyframe, and then you kind of move that around, whether it's X, Y, or Z. So that's some of the basics of just the very, very basics of animation. But it's still pretty good to know how other things work. If we go over back to our assignments here, and this will be over the course of a few weeks here until March 5th. Essentially, we're trying to work with game-ready physics. Next week, we'll kind of go over the actual physics parts, but you essentially choose a few things here. You choose one of these concepts and try to create that. Either falling bridge, it collapses when a character or object interacts with it. It could be 6 or 10 planks and hits it, and it breaks and falls loose. Stack of sci-fi crates that fall when pushed by an external object or force. So you want to kind of build a stacked arrangement that topples when pushed by a rolling object or something else. A destructible fantasy chest, so some sort of chest just destructs or shatters. That'd be kind of fun to do. Or something like a swinging sign that drops. So the mountain fails and it drops on the floor. So you could use rigid body physics for realistic movements. It would be good. And then, of course, use a graph editor. So in here, we also have windows. Let's go here to something like animation, and we'll see how this actually looks. If we select on our cube here, we will see that we actually have a graph. This brings up the graph editor. We have dope sheet, and we have something called time editor. Usually the graph editor is pretty good to play around with. Blender also has this as well, but it's still pretty good to know about this. This is where we start to see how to ease in, ease out on these different parts that we're modeling here or animating. Right now we see we have these keyframes here. It's kind of like the vector handles in Illustrator, if anyone works with those. Let's see about like this. We can ease in and change this, move it around, and that will start to change the way some of that works with. Right now, I think it's just the X that's being translated. So let's just focus. If we click on this will show all of our items here. So we have visibility, we have translate X, we have the translate Y, so we move in those dimensions there. We have the rotation here, and we can also scale as well. So for instance, we mainly move in just the X direction, and this is where we can click on our last keyframe and we can change how that kind of interacts and how that's eased in or eased out here. So if I press Alt V, that kind of plays and stops and plays. And let's go and delete that cube and add a new one. Shift, not that. Object mouse, shift this one. Oh, I see, so it's here. Polycube. Let's bring that up here, and let's say down at 0. We want to move it somewhere else. S, and then we move it over here in the Z direction. And let's scrub over here to 600. And let's say for 300, I don't know, let's move up to here. Okay, oh, did not save the other one here. Let's go back to translate, 0. That's S. Oh, auto keyframe is still on, that's why. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so there we go. S, Alt V. So that kind of works there, cool. So let's say, as we can see here, might be a bit easier. Orthographic view. Trying to find a good view for it. I think this view. Alt V. As you can see, Alt V. Yes. This section here, I believe this is the one that's kind of like translate V, yeah. This is one where we can kind of play around with and see about either speeding up or slowing down as it gets to the end. A lot of times the computer will decide that it's going to go X amount of speed without any kind of thinking about what you want to work with or anything like that. Auto tangents, that's cool. In here we can also delete these other excess keyframes that you don't want as well. So if we just want Z, okay, let's go back to here, press S. And so we can kind of see that it slowly moves up that way. Alt V. That speeds up. That actually goes back to where it was. I don't want that. So, it's just kind of interesting seeing how, some of this works using the graph editor. The graph editor would allow some finer controls. If you want something that's more like a looping control, it's easy to do so by, selecting your initial start frame, which is 0, Control C, and then you should be able to Control V to just put that back. And that can kind of easily create looping animations if you want to. That's especially helpful for something like spinning blades or fans or propellers, like we've done in the past for drones or things like that. For doing loops or windmills, that's helpful. But yeah, I think as of right now, it's good to try to focus on creating the instead of like creating a basic primitive blocks or circles or spheres, for Maya for this assignment 1, it's good to be able to try to create something that's a little bit different or unique. If you're in 177 and you're doing the sci-fi crates, maybe you want to do like a sci-fi crate for Maya. Just kind of like take the one that you're working with in Blender, but then maybe try to rework it so it's here in Maya as well. That could be helpful to learn as well. I'm going to switch back to general for now, and just going to delete this. We could do something, like a simple bouncing ball. As always, it's always good to have some sort of reference to go by. So if you really are trying to do like a animation, there's something called like onion skin. Oh, that's not that. Onion skin animation, so that might give a better idea about how something should kind of like interact. If you use something like a sprite, they have that there for you, so you can kind of see how that works. But that's, this kind of gives you an idea about if you're kind of doing like a character animation or running, maybe you know how to visualize it a little bit better. For something like a bounce ball, you can also use something like this for bouncing a ball, and maybe go open up PureRef, and you want to drag that in there. Let's something like this. And so maybe you want to see. Let's change the panels to side view. Subdivision. That's fine. 20. It might be a little bit high, but that's okay for now. Let's name this to ball. Control S to save, just to make sure I actually have it saved. And let's just start it up here. And so from here, we can just say that this starts here, key it at 0, and eventually it's going to be over here, not there, over here, maybe 300, it'll be there, S to scale. So we have a set of keys right here about where we want it to be. Let's say around here it will drop down quite quickly. And this is where maybe having the auto keyframing on might be good. Put it down here. And another thing to have open is like the graph editor. Let's see if we can find that here. Because sometimes it might be hard to see something like the smooth animations, and maybe you want to be more harsh or stepping a bit. That should be here. Here we go. The step tangents. So if we have step tangents, that will just basically have, no parabolic curve, no curves. It's just a simple here it is, and there it is. That might be good for something like a simple character animations that you're trying to get certain emotes for or certain things. Just get the very basics done. Let's see, scrub that over to maybe want to have that over here. So that's all sister. And maybe that. Eventually this will also squish a bit, but adding squishing now, that could be a bit complex. Right here, maybe. I kind of want to move that there to 160. And this also is going to bounce up to here. And obviously it's going to squish down a bit more at there. Down here. So maybe turn that off again and go back to curves. Spacebar. Let's switch out the panels to perspective. We can press F on a keyboard if you're trying to find something. It'll frame that. So F is good to have, and then Alt V. So for here, this might be where we want to start to squish it. I see the scale down. No, because it hasn't made contact yet, so here, change it to 0, or no, 1. And that's where we kind of lift off from there. And from here, that'll be another place to squish that. Of course, from there, that's about right there. We probably want to have back at 1. Then back here, probably go back to 1 again. Yeah, it's gonna, when it makes impact, about there. I'll probably squish that as well. That's just pretty quick there, don't need that. For 300, we want to translate that. Right there. So here we can probably, maybe around here, make it back to 1. Before it comes back. Then probably back here to 1. Where's that? 326. And move that up a smidge. And of course, we probably want a little bit of rotation here as it goes down. It looks like rotating the X direction. And we could just rotate down here at the end to maybe like 360 degrees. Which should be rotating. 0 initially. Okay, just start rotating like that. Let's open up the graph editor again. Let's see what we can see. Actually, might just go back over to animation. Since it's already docked. Move this down. So it should be rotating here. So that's where it's, doesn't seem like it's rotating all the way. Okay, so I deleted that key. For some reason, there's, something there. Let's Alt V. Okay, so it's starting to rotate there. So it kind of gets there. But of course, this is just using like very basic keyframing. which you can do. It just takes a long time to do. There is actually other effects out there that kind of explore next week, but that's FX. We have things like bullets. That's what it's called, or should be here. I don't think it was an actual add-on. Maybe it was an add-on. Let's see. File, edit. I know it must be settings here. Well, I can just verify that next week because I know I don't think it's an add-on, but it could be. But anyway, let's say that you want to actually, make a video of this or a playblast video of this. So this is, we can add a camera here. Let's go back to something like general. Get rid of that and find ourselves a camera. Where's the camera? Rendering. So here, rendering, we can go add a camera here somewhere. There we go. And we can move this around. This is where maybe having a viewport of this might be good. Let's change this to what's camera 1. So this is camera 1 over here. Let's rotate that. Rotate it down, something like that. And go down to the camera shape and try to see about the focal length. Maybe not 55. If I play that. So if I go to the player, Windows Playbast, there we go. Windows Playbast. That's right. Windows. So if you see something in Maya that has this little square window next to it in your options, that usually means that there's actually additional settings you can play with it. So instead of just clicking this, but clicking that, that will open up usually different options for that specific tool. So for instance, for this Play Blast, this will have like, time slider, start and end. If you have a specific time frame you want to go, end time should be 60 frames, 600s, so 60 seconds or 10 seconds. And we should be able to change the format. AVI is quite fine. Encoding, don't really need to worry about that. Quality, it's quite fine. This isn't going to be like extremely well rendered out or anything. From the Windows, quite fine. We could do something custom. So maybe do want something like a 1920 by 1080 or something like that. And this is where you want to save to file. Find documents, week 1, and let's say Play Blast, assignment 1, save, and then Play Blast. And now if I click on VLC, always, usually a little bit better. Let's see if this will play or come up somewhere. If it does. Or not. Oh, no, there it is. Continue. Well, that was certainly not magnificent. So, let's see what's going on. Let's view this from the camera 1. And let's try it from here. Windows Playbast. So still doesn't want. Okay, let's increase the time then. Okay, so this time slider. Let's see about that. There we go.
It's probably measuring in frames, not seconds.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. So there we go. So we have something there. So that's basically, when I ask for like a PlayBlast assignment, that's basically it. So you just need kind of camera. I know because rendering can be quite intensive, especially if you don't have high-powered GPU or anything like that. PlayBlast is really just quite all right for now, and you can still do that in Blender as well. But yeah, that's something you probably don't want to play with the physics or anything right now for your assignment, but definitely start thinking about, a wooden bridge, sci-fi crates, maybe just make the one crate there, and then eventually you'll be able to duplicate that and maybe have something swing in to hit it, or, fantasy chest, and then a swinging signpost. We can start to get more into some of the cool physics there, but I'm pretty sure that Physics Maya, I didn't think that was something you had to actually download. But the bullet rigid bodies. Oh, so you do have to actually load in the plugin. Gotcha. So, yeah, because I see it was on my window. Let's see, settings, preferences, plugin manager. Okay, so this is where you can also find additional plugins. Kind of like Blender, not everything is enabled by default. Otherwise, Maya will probably be very slow, but this is where you will find bullet loaded and auto load. And I'll just close that. And now if I go here to up to the top, I'll see a new window, bullet. And this is where we can have pretty cool things like active rigid body, passive rigid bodies, ragdoll soft bodies. It's a whole lot easier to work with. Let's do a quick thing here. Control H to hide. Every so often I find myself doing Shift A to add a new cube or new something because the Blender things shortcuts, it's muscle memory, but I keep wanting to click that. But Shift A, that's not here. Or Control A, that opens up attribute editor. But Shift right click, and then we can add something simple like a plane here. Yeah. And for the bullet, add something like passive rigid body. So that essentially means that nothing's going to go through it. It will just stay in place. Never sleep, static body. That's cool. And Shift right. No, that's not. Let's add something like the cube here. You can make it big. That's quite fine. Let's go back to 0. And then finally go to bullet, and we can do something like active rigid body. So very simple. It has a mass to it. It has friction. You can kind of play around with those settings, but then you should be able to play, and it'll just drop down automatically, like an actual object for real with physics. So, the higher you bring it up, it'll just come down because there is gravity. You could make it, really heavy, but then it will just be super heavy. Maybe it's really light. But yeah, everything here is just can be a box collider. Yeah. And so this is also something where, maybe this is where you're going to be crashing into something. No, not that. I don't want to do that. Add something like a cube here. Duplicate that. Control D. Control D. So we have all these cubes here that we're selecting. Then bullet, add a active rigid body. Oh, I think the other thing just went right through it. Let's see, where's that? Go to polymodeling, delete by histories. Let's just create a new one. Let's do something like a cylinder. Bring it up. Bullet, create active rigid body. Create the mass. 20, something big. So that does block. Okay. And maybe it's easy to just do something like 30 frames per second. Like 1200. That's still pretty. Okay, let's do it like 70 frame. It's a little bit slower. But as you can kind of see, that's, you can kind of interpret the assignment however way you want to, but essentially just have things crash into something. Definitely probably not as primitive looking as these basic cube cylinders, toruses, or anything like that. It'd be ideal to have something that's a little more thought into it. So if you want to do something like the bridge, maybe start to think about, if you like stylized World of Warcraft bridges, maybe make something like that. And think about, okay, what would it look like if something crashed into that, or if all the planks were destroyed or something like that. That could be kind of good to work with. Control G, just hide that. You can also do something like to make a quick bridge here. We have a cube like this. If you need to add more than one loop cut here, which is where it kind of gets a little bit tricky here, you would have to go to something like where is that? Mod. Shift right click. No, not that. Let's see where. Scale that. Let's do it again. Edge mode. That's multi-touch. Where's that tool? Insert multi-pool edge. You can do Control F to find specific options or specific tools if you need to. That's a multi-cut. Where is that tool? Windows. Oh, FX. There we go. Edit mesh. Let's see. It's a bit down here. Edge loop. Pretty sure that might be it. Insert edge loop. Let's open that up again. Sure, it's insert edge loop that you can add multiple loop cuts if you need to. Yeah, so that's definitely it. This should be. So in the tool settings here, if we go to multiple distance and select on multiple edge loops, this is where we can do something like 8 or 7. Left click on that. It's a little more convoluted than just using a mouse wheel in Blender, but that's unfortunately how it has to be. If you want to select something, faces all around something, you can left click and press Shift and double click on that next face going around, and now select those edges there. So similarly, kind of like this, that'll go around. Now, if you try to press multiple times, and you might accidentally select the whole thing. So just kind of select the next face over that you want. I guess that's fine. I'll delete that. Then I'm just going to control delete those faces. I'll delete that. I'm going to select everything here. Let's see, yep, select everything here, and then I'll just go ahead and try to find the fill hole. I have to control find. Fill hole, and that'll create those blocks there. This could be just like one way to be able to create your a bridge. Control B to bevel those sections there. Control B, something like that. And then, of course, they're all one single object. You want to separate them all. You can find that with the Control F, detach faces. Wait, no, I think it's extract, that's right. So Control F and extract. And now they're all individual objects here. So that's just something that you can kind of create, or you can just, of course, work on one single one and just kind of work with that. If you do the method I just did, the pivot point for everything would be in the center of the original cube that you worked with. So that would require you to, go down to face mode, select center pivot to that point. Same thing for this. Center pivot, no. Center pivot, face again, center pivot. So now they're all down there. And of course, this is good for if you want to do this quickly and try to get an idea of how, like a bridge would fall, something like that. So shift right click, no, don't want that. Right click, so let's do something like a plane here. Maybe this is a water or something that you're kind of working with. And this is kind of going over it. So let's say these guys are part of the bridges. You can go back to your bullet here, wherever it is, FX, bullet, create active rigid body, probably because it's so low to the ground. And for this one, create bullet, passive rigid body. And this passive rigid body, I might need to change that from box to like mesh. Might make it easier. So I might need to delete the histories for these. But, essentially that's kind of like rough. Still need to play around with the settings there because the colliders are kind of off. Yeah, they just all want to go crazy. Let's delete that bullet solver. And I might have to delete that. Let's get them out of a group because a group might be causing some issues. Bullet. Move it up a little bit. Active rigid, collider shape. Hull? We could try that capsule maybe. Friction, that's fine. Apply. And now it's just completely flying around. But that's just something you kind of keep playing around with until you figure that out. And we can of course play around with them more next week. But just kind of give you an overall if you want to tackle that. That's just available for you all. It's due March 5th. We will have a lab day I believe it's a week of. Yeah, 26th. So that way we'll be able to work on assignment 1. Also, we do have the quiz 1 issued, which is pretty simple. Essentially, if you have a first try, try it without lookup anything. Just try to do it on your own. If that's too difficult for you, second time, open up the software and just kind of work your way through it and try to figure it out. If that's not, you do your best by with your notes or any kind of other assistant as needed. I never liked taking tests or quizzes when I was in school. I don't know if that's a really good way to grade someone about what they know and don't know, but I think I have quizzes here available for you all to do. So there are due dates for them all. That's due the 26th, but it's really simple to do. So you just have 5 questions, multiple choice. Some of them might have some humorous answers to it, but hopefully you don't select those. But if you do, it's kind of funny. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. As I've done with all my other classes before, I do upload this to YouTube, so I will have that list there. So if you want to double check that or review anything, I do have the course materials of some of this techniques here. I have a page here, Blender to Maya commands. So this might be good for switching over from Blender to Maya. You might want to print that off or just kind of look at that. As well as 12 principles of animations with some ideas here about how to kind of work through that. Also a Maya beginner cheat sheet there, more of a game development focused. So that kind of helps you all out. And yeah, it's always good to freeze transformations and delete type by history. That's the this thing here. That kind of helps you all, especially with taking it to another game engine, because then you delete the history and make sure it's all clean of kind of weird issues or anything like that. It's a good habit to get into. Also with animation, that'd be good to make sure you don't have any kind of issues. So I think that's pretty much it for today to kind of go over. Of course, discussion board, we do have one. Even if you already did one for CMIS-177, you can just copy and paste that if you want to. But that's also available. And it's good to kind of talk to other people if you can. Just get to know each other, see about what your interests are, things like that. Yeah, assignments, syllabus, and that's pretty much it for today. I will include this in the in-class videos, and yeah, I guess for some of you, I'll see you next Tuesday, and some of you, I'll see you next Thursday. So I'll stop the video if you want to continue to work here until about 3 o'clock. I don't know if there's another class after that, but I'll be here to help out if you need to, and yeah, you're free to go if you want to stay here or go to the library, work, do whatever you want to. That's cool. So I'll stop the video now and upload it.